What's growing on, gardeners? It's Sunday, February 18th, and it is a freezing cold afternoon here on the southeastern coast of North Carolina, but this is the perfect weather to plant dormant bare root fruit trees. And on today's video, I'm going to take you into my backyard and show you my biggest fruit tree expansion ever. I'm planting a ton of new fruit trees, and I can't wait to take you along for the ride.
If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon store and Spreadshop links in the video description for everything I use in my garden and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated.
2 weeks ago, I showed you how I'm growing an incredible number of fruit trees in almost no space at all. I am currently growing 40 fruit trees in 0.02 acres. Not 0.2 acres, 0.02 acres. And the way that I plant my fruit trees high density, almost everybody can have a huge food forest even in the tiniest backyards. My whole backyard is only about 1/4 of an acre, and I'm going to have over 60 fruit trees when all is said and done, only occupying 0.03 acres of space. After some manual labor over the last week and a half, I have finally prepared most of my planting area for my bare root fruit trees. And the good news is that most of them are already in. I have 4 fruit trees that I'm going to plant in this video today sitting in this bucket. And this is the all-in-one almond tree that I showed you how to plant a little over a week ago. I'll make sure to link to that video below if you want to know how to plant a bare root fruit tree and how you can cluster an enormous amount of food together in a very tiny backyard. After you receive your bare root fruit trees in the mail, when it comes time to plant them, you are going to want to soak them in a bucket of water. So these bare root fruit trees have been soaking for about an hour. After 1 hour, they will basically be ready to be planted in ground. And here I have a 5th fruit tree. I'm debating whether or not to plant this. This is actually a pomegranate tree, so it is not as cold hardy as the other things that I'm planting, although it still is fairly cold hardy. The issue is it is beginning to bud out. You can see small buds forming, so I'm debating whether or not I'm going to plant it now, or maybe I'll keep it in my sunroom for a month and then plant it in late March once the frost and freezes stop. In summary, the way that I plant as many fruit trees as possible, taking up almost no space, is to source all semi-dwarf or dwarf grafted varieties and then plant them around the perimeter fence in my yard. That way I can have a huge number of fruit trees planted without taking up any space in the middle of my yard. That is how I will get 60 fruit trees around without really anyone being the wiser. So what I'm doing is I am planting all of my fruit trees 30 inches off the back of my fence. Then I have to prune the backs of the trees every year to make sure they don't interfere with the perimeter fence. That's no big deal. Now, the overwhelming majority of my fruit trees will be spaced 7 feet apart. I have just a few exceptions. The exception that I showed you on my video 2 weeks ago was here is an olive tree, and then next to that is an almond tree. Because they are 2 of the largest trees I will have in my yard, they are spaced 9 feet apart. But other than those 2, all these other fruit trees that you see delineated with stakes are spaced exactly 7 feet apart. So here is going to be a persimmon tree, here is going to be a jujube tree, then you are going to have another persimmon, followed by a pluot, a pluery, and then the pomegranate on the end. And in the rear quarter back there, I'm going to put an avocado tree. And I cannot stress this enough. It is so important that you have everything laid out before you start planting anything. I have everything staked out and labeled so I know where everything is going to go. And this is how you are going to know for certain that the spacing is going to work. Do not do this blind. Do not measure as you go. Design everything in advance. Lay everything out. That way there is no guessing, and at the end of the day, you don't have a design that won't fit once the trees are already planted. Okay, now all of the holes have been dug for our bare root fruit trees, and the first thing that you need to understand is the size and the depth of the hole dug. Now here are our bare root fruit tree roots that you see right here, and you will clearly notice that the hole is at least twice as wide and twice as deep as need be for the roots. And we need to do this for 2 reasons. The first reason is these trees are babies. They have been uprooted and the roots are very young. So because of that, when they wake up in this planting hole, they're not going to have a lot of strength to them. If the soil is really hard, then these roots are going to struggle to grab hold and the trees are going to grow very slowly. So the reason why we dig the hole at least twice as wide and twice as deep as need be is because we want to break up that soil as much as possible so it is nice and light and loamy, so when the trees wake up they can easily root throughout the soil. So we want to dig the hole twice as deep and then backfill it halfway so the tree actually winds up in the right spot relative to the final grade of the ground, but we wanted to dig it twice as deep so we break everything up that's below grade. That way the soil will be nice and easy for the roots to traverse. The second reason we need to dig our holes deeply is you will never know what you'll find under the soil until you hit it. Now my first planting hole was nice and easy. It was in my nice native Carolina sandy soil. But as you go back in my backyard, see all those trees? Well, this whole lot used to be wooded and they clear cut it to build my house. So as I started working my way into the back corner of the property, I started finding all these old decaying tree roots about 18 inches down as I started to dig. Had I not dug that deeply, I would have just planted my tree and then they would have run into all of those roots as they tried to grow. And that would have stunted the tree and it could have actually killed the tree because all of that rotting root mass there, well, that holds a lot of moisture and rot-causing bacteria as it decays underground. So thankfully, I dug down nice and deeply and I was able to remove these huge old chunks of wood. So now I know all the way down there, it is nice and free and clear for my trees to grow. So because I put in the extra work, they are going to grow so much more quickly because they're not going to have to fight all of that nasty root mass. Now all of the fruit trees have been placed in the planting holes and they have been set to the proper depth and distance off the back of the fence. And that piece of 4-foot rebar that I have down there, that delineates 30 inches from the back of the fence. So I wanted basically the trees to be resting right up against that. And one thing that you will notice is that all of the roots are exposed. That's because I want all of these trees planted slightly high, and I wanted to backfill them only halfway to lock them into place and then tie them to all of the stakes. That way I could assure that everything would be in the right position and everything would be tied off nice and neatly, so I know everything is exactly where I want them to be before I lock them into position permanently. Now when I actually walk in line, if I crouch down, you will see that pretty much all of the fruit trees blend into one from side to side. That is exactly what I want. Now I need to apply some fertilizer. I'm going to amend all of the planting holes with an organic bone meal and an organic slow-release fertilizer. Now, bone meal is fantastic for root development because it is an all-natural source of organic phosphorus and calcium. It really helps build strong roots. Then this plant tone right here, this is a 533 NPK fertilizer. It doesn't have to be this exact one. Anything close to a 555 NPK will be fine. But if you want these exact products, I will link to them directly down in the video description. Now, it is okay to apply these fertilizers directly into the planting hole because in their organic raw form, they are really precursors to fertilizer. They need to be broken down and digested by the soil microbiome before they're bioavailable. So in this form, they're not technically fertilizer. You wouldn't want to do this with a water-soluble fertilizer. That could burn the roots. But for these types of organic granulated types, it is okay to do this. So we're going to put probably about a 1/4 cup in each planting hole. And then we will do the same thing with the bone meal. We will lightly dust all of the roots, which will help them grow big and strong. Now we will backfill all of the native soil around the tree. Once all the soil has been backfilled, we will take our feet and lightly tamp down the soil in a ring around the tree, all the while holding the tree in place to make sure that we don't push it deeper into the soil. We want the roots of the tree to be slightly high. Then we will water in the tree, which will complete the soil compaction process. It will be very important that we keep this area moist until the tree begins to establish. So you'll want to water at least once or twice a week for the first few months of this tree's life. Now the trees have been backfilled and watered in, and you will notice that there is a little bit of exposed surface roots. I did that on purpose because I've found over the years that when you plant your fruit trees a little bit high, so the surface roots are exposed, when you place compost around them and cover the surface roots with the compost, they grab hold much more quickly and they thrive with the surface roots rooting throughout the compost layer. So I am going to cover those roots with a ring of compost 2 inches thick. I'm going to use an organic mushroom compost that you see right here, but any kind of compost will do. It can be a manure-based compost, a homemade compost, it's okay. Just be sure that when you spread the compost, you do not pile the compost around the trunk of the tree. That can cause trunk rot. Make sure that you leave a little space in between the trunk and the compost ring. And now that everything is planted, I'm going to take you through and show you all of my new varieties. We will start off with the all-in-one almond tree that I planted on the video 2 weeks ago that showed you great depth as to how to plant a bare root fruit tree. Next to that, we have a new Asian persimmon. This variety is called Maru or Maru. This is not the same as chocolate, but it does turn brown like chocolate when it is pollinized. Then we have a GA866 jujube. It's partially self-fertile. You do not need 2 jujube trees in this case. Then next to it, we have another Asian persimmon. This variety is called Coffee Cake. This will pollinize the Maru persimmon that you see over there, but I specifically put separation in case I don't want them to pollinize because pollination makes them seedy. I wanted to be able to control the pollination. Then over here, you see I have a tag for a pluot. I have not received my pluot tree yet. It is in transit. I should receive it in a few days. This is going to be a 3-in-1 multi-grafted pluot. Pluots do require cross-pollination, so this tree will be able to pollinate itself. I have no idea what the varieties are going to be. They come out of a list, so I'm not sure the 3 I'm going to get. Next to it is the Flavor Punch Pluery. The Pluery will get pollinized by the pluot. So that's why I have these 2 spaced right next to each other. And then here will be where the Parfianca pomegranate goes. Once it warms up a little bit more, I will transplant that. The last stake over here will be reserved for a cold hardy avocado tree. Now I know many of you are wondering the variety I'm going to go with, but they're not in stock yet. So I have a ranking as to what I want. I'll see what gets in stock, and then I will make sure to let everybody know once I actually plant it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this whole planting is 6 years in the making. I have been slowly planting out the entire perimeter of my yard and garden since I moved here 6 years ago. So it's just incredible to me that I'm basically running out of room after this. I will still have a few choice locations here and there to install a tree or 2, and I am going to remove a couple of things that haven't done well this summer, and I will replace them with a couple more things, but it just blows my mind to think that this is largely the completion of my vision that I started 6 years ago when I bought this property and moved into this house. I just want to say thank you all so much who have followed me along this journey. So much of what I'm doing, the reason why I've found the time and strength and energy to do all of this is because of you that have been motivating me along the way. All of you that have been appreciative of the videos, that have thanked me, and that have told me that I have motivated you to do something the same. I just cannot say thank you enough, because without you all, I probably wouldn't be this far along. This is the strength and motivation that I use, and it's really helped me build what I think will be an incredible property at the end of the day. And on that note, thank you all so much that have watched this video and have been following me for so long, and for all of my new viewers that have started following me and will continue to in the future. I appreciate it more than you know. So everybody, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and please ring that notification bell so you're notified when I release more videos like these. If you have any questions about the different plants that I planted or varieties in this video, please ask them down in the comments section and I will do my best to address them. If you're curious about any of the products that I used in this video or that I use in real life in my garden in general, everything is linked down in the video description in my Amazon storefront link. So if you expand that video description, click on the Amazon link, you'll see everything I use in real life. And while you're there, check out my spread shop for custom merch if you want to support the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see all of you again on the next video. Dale, what is it that you want? Show me. You want to eat? What do you want to do? Do you want to walk or do you want to eat? What do you want? Okay, I guess that's clear. All right, buddy, I'll tell you what. We'll go for a walk, and then when you come home, we'll eat. How about that? Walk first, then eat? Okay. All right, look at that tail. Dale, you are going to take the paint off the door. All right, we'll go. Okay, Mr. Handsome Pants, are you ready? You're all suited up, ready and raring to go. You want to go for a walk? Look at that excitement.